YouTube, what is happening? It is your boy APFC, all Arsenal content, but not exclusively. So, today's video, we are going to discuss three centre backs Arsenal should look to sign throughout this transfer window. Now, as we are all aware, Arsenal's defensive record over the last 3 to 4 seasons has been, at times, nothing short of embarrassing. It's been our Achilles heel. Although our midfield defensively doesn't help, it's been our centre backs and the signings that we've made in those positions that haven't exactly set the world alight. Shokran Mustafi being one that we signed from Valencia 3 to 4 years ago for 35 million, which is a lot back then in that market. David Luiz being another one who, although has performed a lot better lately, is not going to be the answer to centre back. We are yet to see William Saliba come in. So, with Callum Chambers being out, we should seriously be looking at a centre-back option this window. Callum Chambers isn't the answer for me either, but he was probably perhaps our best performing centre-back or best performing defender this season until he got injured. So, just wanted to do a quick video of three centre-backs that we could sign. I'm being realistic in this video. These are realistic players that we could afford, that aren't over 100 million plus, that could be available. So without further ado, let me go through to the first centre back. Now, this is a one that we have been linked with in the past and does divide opinion in some respects, based of him not playing for one of those high-profile clubs. But the first one is Lewis Dunk. Now, Lewis Dunk is captain of Brighton and he's 28 years old and is quite tall. He's 192 centimetres, which should be, I assume, 6'1 or 6'2. And he's been one that I've watched quite a bit since coming into the Premier League with Brighton. And he's a player that, we're very quick to criticise when he's linked with us, although he's been a very consistent performer for Brighton over the last 2 to 3 years. Some of Lewis Dunk's qualities is that, similarly to David Luiz with his long balls, Lewis Dunk has that ability as well. You may not say as well as David Luiz, but the amount of times that Brighton have been able to completely almost skip or go over the midfield through long balls straight to their wingers, they've done that so many times, and that is from Lewis Dunk. He seems to play as not necessarily a playmaker, but that sort of playmaking, ball-playing role from the centre-back. He seems to be that guy, and he can very consistently find the feet of the wingers for Brighton or the wide midfielders. He's also put in a few through balls to their forwards, which they've ended up scoring from. So, for me, that's one quality of, although not exclusively defensively, that quality here, it is something that is working for us this year with David Luiz. So I don't see why this would work with Lewis Dunk as a centre-back for us. Another quality of Lewis Dunk is that he keeps very upright. Now, this is a quality that is underrated as a centre-back, because one of our centre-backs that doesn't keep upright at all is Shokran Mustafi. He very easily goes to ground and he's always looking for an opportunity to go in for the slide tackle or to go in for the miracle interception. Lewis Dunk isn't like that. The way he keeps himself upright is, it's not that he intimidates attackers or midfielders coming forward, but he asserts his authority by keeping upright with such a large frame that he has, because not only is he 192 centimetres, he's got quite a strong physical build as well. So the way he keeps upright is very good. There's been defenders running into him. He's not one of those defenders to commit too early. He's one of those defenders that sort of waits for the attacker or the midfielder to sort of maybe, for a split second, maybe panic's not the word, but second guess themselves, and which allows him to come in for the interceptions. That, for me, is one of his biggest strengths, and that would be something that would be highly valued in this Arsenal squad, considering we have a lot of centre-backs that go too quickly to ground. Obviously, I said Mustafi being one, but I have seen Socrates do that sort of going to ground too quickly as well. So, for me, that's something that could be, very, very highly valued amongst the Arsenal squad. as well as having leadership qualities. Yes, he is captain Brighton, not exactly a top six side, but he has the leadership qualities and that sort of presence amongst the dressing room that he could bring to Arsenal. Arsenal has lacked so many leaders amongst the years. He's 28, he has some experience behind him. This could be something that is highly valued. Yes, he hasn't played at the highest level. He's not played in the Champions League. He hasn't really played international football either. So, you could argue that. However, if you're a captain, you show leadership qualities wherever you may go. He's a no-nonsense sort of footballer. He doesn't really get involved in the glitz and glamour of football either. It is something that, if we are looking at someone like Lewis Dunk, he does offer those leadership qualities at the back as well. And in any area of the field right now, we need leadership at the centre back. We're finally getting a little bit with David Luiz showing his quality, although he's very rash at times. I would like to see more leadership qualities coming from the back. He does offer that, and what he also offers is he puts his body on the line. This is going back to what I was saying about a no-nonsense centre-back. He loves throwing himself into, not necessarily throwing himself into tackles. He's one of those defenders that throws his body in front of it, not necessarily commits, so he's not, caught out if he is on the ground. He's one of those centre-backs that uses his frame and he puts his body in front of the ball to block shots, which is something that we need. Particularly, for example, with the goal in the weekend, we didn't have anyone that really, although David Luiz did a very lazy block, we didn't really have anyone that, got themselves in front of the ball and went for that block. They sort of let him shoot, and in some reasons I can understand that because we didn't want to give away a penalty, and we have done, silly mistakes like that in the past. But, if we had some sort of centre-back that was able to put his body in front with his large frame, that could really have ultimately maybe won us the game and kept it, 2 or 1-0 or 2-0, whatever the score could have been. A disadvantage of Lewis Dunk is that he's not overly quick. Although he's not too bad for his size, the last thing that we need is slow centre backs. Right now, I will say, although we're not very positionally aware, we do have very quick centre backs, so when we do like to play a high defensive line, we do have the pace to get back. Lewis Dunk is not going to be that player that can get back quickly. He can either be the last defender that sort of holds back a little bit, or pretty much nothing else. He can't really be in a high defensive line. I feel like he will get caught out too many times. So that is open to sort of how Arteta is looking to set up defensively, if Lewis Dunk would fit in or not, because if we are looking to play a very high defensive line, I'm not sure if Lewis Dunk will be the best fit. Lewis Dunk, I can't see him being too expensive though, and that is why I've put him in this video, is that we need to be realistic who we're signing at the moment. Particularly, apparently, we can only go for loan deals, and we have too many average players on high wages. Yes, we have money, but we still have players like Mesut Ozil on 350k a week, Mustafi on 90k a week, Xhaka on 90 to 100k a week. Average players on big money. So this is, for me, one of the reasons why we haven't been able to go out and sign more defensive players. You could argue we should have gone and signed a centre-back instead of Nicolas Pepe, but that is a story for another time. So he would be an inexpensive option. For me, there's not a lot of risk attached to it if we go into signing for 20 to 25 million. I feel like he would actually perform at Arsenal. But again, going back to my point about being quite slow off the mark, it will be interesting to see how Arteta sets up defensively and if he'll fit our system. Now, the next defender is a defender that I pretty much rate as the best centre-back in the league outside perhaps the top 4 to the top 6, and that's Nathan Ake. Now, Nathan Ake was a Chelsea youth prospect that ended up going to Bournemouth. I think initially it was on loan before they made it permanent. I could be wrong. And Nathan Ake offers so much to that side. First of all, what I've noticed about Nathan Ake, and I really like this about him, is that he never gives the attacker room. If you compare him to sort of like Lewis Dunk is that sort of centre-back that holds his position until the attackers come to him. He holds his body upright and will wait for the attacker to commit before committing himself. Now, that could be a good thing, but that could also be a negative. If the attacker that's coming at him is quick, he could get that quick burst of pace over Lewis Dunk. Because he's given him room, he could beat him one-on-one, which ultimately could open him up. What Ake does is that when the ball is played through the lines to the attacker, Ake gets to the attacker as quick as he possibly can, which forces the attacker to not be able to turn direct and go forward to goal. He has to turn his back and to face the other way. He has to face his own goal. And that is something that Ake does extremely consistently, and that's probably one of the big reasons why attackers struggle with Ake, because he just simply gives them no room. As soon as the ball's played through, I noticed Ake, he likes to rush forward. He gets right on him and doesn't give him enough room. It stops attackers from pushing forward, and it ultimately slows them down when looking to go forward against Bournemouth's defence. You could argue that in some respects, if he mistimes those runs, it would open them up at the centre of the defence. Let's say he mistimes a run, they end up playing a quick ball through the wing could break through, play forward, Ake's essentially out of position. But number one, because Ake has that pace, he's very quick, he's able to get back. And number two, because he's so consistent with his timing of making those runs to the attacker, it doesn't seem to often happen. That's probably his biggest strength as a centre-back, and that's what he's sort of been known for for the defence for Bournemouth. So that is one of the best qualities. With someone like Mustafi, he does that actually. He sort of does that, but he completely mistimes his runs. Ake, I haven't seen many times mistime those sort of runs. So that for me is a huge quality for Nathan Ake. He's also very strong in the air. He's not the tallest centre back. He's relatively tall, but he's not as tall as someone as like Lewis Dunk, for example. However, he very rarely seems to miss headers either, and again, is always at the back of the attacker. So when the headers do come along, he seems to be winning those headers maybe 8 to 9 times out of 10. He can play out the back very well. Nathan Ake offers quite a lot to Bournemouth, particularly when they're chasing a goal. He likes to get forward, and the centre-back, which is himself, joins the attack. They do like to play that tactic. As I said before, he's good in the air, so he is able to score a few goals off corners or off crosses when he bombs forward. But he's also a very good ball player, so when he does join in with the attack, Ake offers something else because he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet. You've seen that many times from Bournemouth when he's been pressed. A lot of teams in the Premier League like to play a high defensive line. Nathan Ake seems to have no issue with that. He has no issues with getting pressed. He's very comfortable with both feet. And going forward as well, he offers quite a lot in respects to sort of his passing range, because he has quite a good passing range as well. The other thing with Ake that impresses me is that I find that he's actually a big game player. I've seen him score goals against Chelsea and Man United, and when Bournemouth's backs are against the wall and they need a goal, Ake can pop up at reliable times to get that goal. So for me, that shows one thing. It shows, number one, he's a big game player, but that also leads on to the fact that if you're a big game player, you could argue that you have quite a lot of leadership qualities. And Ake has consistently shown his ability in big games. He's performed very well against Liverpool, I thought, this season. He's one of those players that, for the big occasion, he'll rise his ability. That is something that we need, particularly at the back when we have been opened up time and time again against top 6 teams, particularly away from home. So Nathan Ake does offer a lot in that respect. The disadvantages with Ake, to be honest, he is the best centre-back in the league outside the top 6, so I find that there's not too many. But I have found that because he's so committed in getting to attackers and not giving him much time, when he does mistime them, he does go to ground too easily. Excuse me. So that would be a disadvantage. We don't need another sort of Mustafi that goes to ground very quickly and opens ourselves up. Socrates has done that in the past at times as well. But in the scheme of things, Ake is a better centre-back than Socrates. Ake is a better centre-back than David Luiz, in my opinion. So, I think that's something that, although he's very young, he's 24, that's something he can learn over time. He is probably the one that I think we should go for the most. I do have some sort of understanding that Chelsea have a buyback clause, And if Bournemouth go down, it's very likely that Chelsea may go and sign him. But again, apparently, I've heard rumours as well that because Christensen is committing to Chelsea for a few more years, they may not go in for Ake. So if Bournemouth are looking to get relegated, or even if they do survive by the skin of their teeth, it does open up that possibility of Ake moving on to a bigger club. So hopefully we see him as a priority, because I think Nathan Ake is a very good centre-back. Now, the last centre-back that I'm analysing is a player that over the last 24 hours has been linked to Arsenal, and that's John Stones. Now, John Stones, he divides opinion as well, and this is probably where the question marks come in from Arsenal fans, is that you'll start with his positives first, is that, first of all, out of these three centre-backs that I've just mentioned, he's the most experienced. He has Champions League experience. He's played in 2 title-winning sides, being a main defender in those sides, particularly the first title they won under Pep Guardiola. He was, in my opinion, one of the outstanding performers that season. Even the last title they won last season, he was a key centre-back with Aymeric Laporte, John Stones playing as a defensive centre-back pairing. What he can do positively is that he's a great ball player. Out of the three of them, I think he's probably the best. He looks very, very comfortable in pushing up almost into the midfield when City have the ball. Obviously, City play a very possession-based style of football, and you need to have very good ball-playing centre-backs to achieve that, as all attacks from City tend to start, obviously from the defence. They're not necessarily a team that does a lot of long balls. Aymeric Laporte can do that. John Stones can also do that. He's been very highly rated by Pep Guardiola as well. However, the fact that he's linked with Arsenal tends to suggest that perhaps John Stones is falling out of favour with Guardiola. He's played 10 Premier League games this year, and considering we've had 22 to 23 games and Aymeric Laporte's been out most of the season, that really isn't that many. You think John Stones would be a regular starter now that Aymeric Laporte is injured. You'd almost think that he would be their main centre-back. Hasn't worked out that way. Fernandinho has been an outstanding performer at centre-back this season, and Guardiola seems to prefer him, which says a lot about how he initially rated John Stones to how he rates him now, which has given ourselves the opportunity to maybe sign him. His timing of the tackles are very good. When the opportunity comes up for a slide tackle, he tends to get the timing spot on. He has quite a big frame, so that allows him to, win 9 times out of 10 most of his slide tackles. The thing is with John Stones, and this is where the criticisms comes from, is that I think with John Stones, he has a focus or concentration problem, and I think this is why Guardiola has tend to steer clear from playing him this season. I have found with John Stones, he has that ability to switch off during games. He has made a couple of errors playing it out the back at times, and yes, that will happen because City likes to play a possession-based football, but he does have that sort of panic moment in him, and I have seen that many times from John Stones, and I think that is why right now he is not England's most recognised centre-back. Although, yes, he has quite a lot of England caps, he's not that English centre-back where you think he is by far the first one picked in the team, or at least not in the last 12 months or so. That is probably a reason why City haven't played John Stones as much, and that is probably a reason why he's linked to Arsenal. I did mention that in my other video today, that John Stones has the same agency as Mikel Arteta. Obviously, Mikel Arteta and John Stones have worked together at City. So this is actually something I could potentially see happening. And although he does have that error in it and his lapse of concentration, he's quite quick. As I said, he's a very good ball-playing centre-back. The timing of his tackles are good. I think he would be an instant upgrade on any centre-back that we have right now. I would prefer to sign him. Yes, if we're desperate, we can bring him on loan. But I do think that under Arteta, Stones could flourish. And being the main centre-back, if he sort of got over his lapses of concentration, he could be, a key player for us if we were looking to bring him in. If City are looking to get rid of him, perhaps we could get him for a cheaper price. So I don't think we should rule out John Stones, and if the opportunity presents itself based on what centre-backs we've had in the past, I would take the risk on him. I would prefer to get someone like John Stones instead of Umtiti. At least John Stones, has Premier League experience over Umtiti. And I don't think he's a lot worse ability-wise either. Obviously, Umtiti will get raps for winning the World Cup, but I don't think there's too much between them. And if he's available and we can get him maybe for a cup price, I don't see why we wouldn't go in for him. And that's my video today. I just wanted to go through, what sort of centre backs we could sign. Clearly, it's a problem position for us. Out of the three of them, the one I would prefer the most would be Nathan Ake. As I said, I think he's one of the best young centre backs in the world. That could become world class in the future. That could probably be the hardest one to get. Number one, because Chelsea have a buyback clause, and number two, he'd probably be 50 million excess. But I think it would be worth spending that money on him, actually, based on what he's done at Bournemouth. If we were looking for sort of something in the meantime, to start for the next few months while Chambers is out, with an option to maybe start more next season, Lewis Dunk would be a good option as well, simply because he would be the cheapest out of all of them. And if it doesn't really work, at least we haven't spent too much on him, although I do think he has quite a lot of ability. Very underrated. And John Stones probably being the most realistic out of all of them, considering that he has fallen out of favour at City. I would take him as well. That's all. This sort of shows where we're at as a club defensively, because John Stones does have that panic moment in him, but at the moment I'd take him by far over anyone else of our centre backs, which shows how far we've fallen as a club defensively. He'd probably be the most realistic one out of the three. I don't think we'd go in for Lewis Dunk, but I think I could see us maybe at least inquiring about John Stones. Thanks for watching my video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. Leave any feedback at the bottom in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, APFC. All Arsenal content, but not exclusively so. Please keep an eye out for the other video that I'm putting out today as well, which is a transfer update video. I may be doing another video later about Gabriel Martinelli. That will be out either tonight or tomorrow morning. Please keep your eyes peeled for that as well. Look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching my video. APFC, all Arsenal content, but not exclusively so.